Yo, welcome back to another episode. Plain sight visuals, man. I know it's been a while. Been having, pay attention to myself, focus on myself, do some self healing, do some self cleansing, so I can be able to bring forth a message that's whole and pure. You know what I'm saying? But yo, we got so much to talk about, so much going on in the world, like so much going on within ourselves, so much that we can talk about, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a main focus I want to get on with my brothers and my sisters is like when you don't have knowledge of yourself and you don't have knowledge of your past, the work that your ancestors have done and all these different type of things, that leaves you looking for a sense of self. Because if you were to already know who you were, then you already know where to go. Does that make sense? So you just have to think, if you were to take a people and wipe all the memory away, wipe everything that they were to know of the world, wipe everything that they were, wipe away all the history of who they were, and take all their knowledge away, they'll be lost scrambling for life. And that's what happened to that has happened to us. When you talk about genocide, to a people, you can also do genocide to a mind. Just imagine if you went to China and you took everybody in China and changed their whole entire way of life, every single thing that they do, the person that they pray to, their way of life, just change everything to the point where their thought process is no longer the same. They think like an American now. That's genocide, because what you just did, you just wiped away a whole entire race of people and their culture away, and now they just picked up something new. And that, in the sense of way, that has happened to us, brothers and sisters, the indigenous brothers and sisters of America. Um, when you talk about indigenous, that means that you are natural to that environment. You're natural to this land. You're natural to that position. They make it seem as if we came from Africa, or known as Algebra, and they changed the name of the continent. These are English names now, but anyway, um, when we look at Africa and they tell us that we came from Africa, we're looking at false depictions of ourselves to keep our history of who we are away. Because once think we have a knowledge that we come from slavery, and we don't know much of who we were before that point, then all history of who we were before slavery is gone. Which means that, in truth, when we go back to our oldest form of self, the only thing that we see is slavery. So when we look at ourselves in the mirror, what do you think we see as? You know what I'm saying? But there has been discoveries here in the Americas, in southern Illinois, in these caves, and you can look it up yourself. It's called Russell Burroughs Cave. Russell Burroughs Cave. And you can also, there's books out. It's called there's one book called The Golden Trade of the Moors, and then you have The Golden Age of the Moors. There's many different books that talk about the truth and the knowledge of the indigenous people of Americas. Um, so if you were to look into Russell Burroughs Cave, what you're gonna find is ancient artifacts, stone tablets, thick stone tablets that they found in these caves, and they say that they look like as if they were Egyptian artifacts. But here, let me break down the word. Let me break down Egyptian and Kemet and Africa and all that different type of stuff. Um, the root of all people comes from Ethiopia, which is in Africa. The whole entire continent of Africa was once known as Ethiopia. The oldest fossil that you will find in the world it links back to Ethiopia, because that's where all civilization, culture, knowledge, truth, everything was came from. So we came from Ethiopia, and from Ethiopia we went up the Nile Valley, which is like a river. It wasn't called the Nile Valley at the time. I'm pretty sure it was called like or Happy or something along those lines. I have to do more research for myself.
In fact, those rushing waters meeting the white happy, as the Africans called it, they call the Nile River Happy, H-A-P-I, or I've seen it H-A-P-Y. As the Blue Nile comes down and meets White Happy at Khartoum, that is what gives it its rush to move forward. And in fact, you can give credit to the Blue Happy for having created Kemet or Egypt in the first place, because possibly the White Happy might have just moseyed to a certain level and then just moved back. However, with the rush of the waters of the blue, it pushed the waters further. Not to mention, of course, that because it was blue, it was called blue because of its darkness, because of its indigo color. It is this dark silt, it is this rich soil that coming up created the fertile areas that later would be able to flourish the types of agriculture that later Ethiopians would then bring into the Kemetic region.
But we went up the Nile Valley, and through going up the Nile Valley, we created Kemet. And from Kemet, we went to Spain.
Of understanding that Moors were Africans, and that in fact the Moors going into what the Muslim nation called Al-Andalus, A-L-A-N-D-U-L-A-S, Al-Andalus, which today we call Spain, was in fact an African nation going into the Iberian Peninsula. But we also see European scholars during the 15th, 16th, and 17th century referring to these individuals in this area of Africa. They are changing the word from calling them Ethiopians to calling them Moors.
Beings of Africa and Ethiopia are the Moors. We are the Moors. So from Ethiopia, we created Kemet. Kemet, that's the pyramids, all that, and all of to Kemet, but that's not the only golden city. All of Africa was golden at the time. Everybody was pure. It was all about knowledge, love, seeking wholeness and pureness. There was no disease or sickness that roamed the land. No such thing as envy, hatred, anger. None of that stuff existed within the minds of the people, because it all comes from a thought. And if you don't let that thought into your way of life, then you know what I'm saying. But anyway, so we are living golden. You know what I'm saying? Just like we are living in heaven. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way you can describe it. You know what I'm saying? Through a material way, physical way, where your mind can be able to perceive it. But from Ethiopia, we created Nile Valley. From Ethiopia, we created Kemet. From Kemet, we created Spain. And from Spain, we are the Moors. And there's ancient artifacts known that show proof of the Moors being in the Americas. And it's also in the books. You could talk about the golden trade of the Moors. And these are scholars that have written and found these discoveries and have let the truth out and let people know about this truth.
In other words, about 2,000 years ago, there now appears that there were wealthy West African and North African blacks who left Africa on a pilgrimage and came, if you can believe this or not, but there's solid proof for it now, to southern Illinois. Now I'll explain how that happened. In 1982, our time, there was a guy who was going along southern Illinois. He was a cave hunter. And he was, I don't know if you're familiar with southern Illinois at all, on the Ohio River. It's just honeycombed with caves, thousands of caves. They have not all been explored by any means. And he was involved in sports for hunting in caves. It's done all the time. It's rough work. Sometimes these caves are very narrow. He went into, to make a long story short, he went into this cave that no one had ever seen before. And he squeezed through a very narrow entrance, and all of a sudden it turned out into an enormous room. And in this room, he found great sarcophagi, or coffins, coffin lids, made out of stone. The walls are engraved with all kinds of stories, picture stories of men and women in old costumes from the ancient world. And then on the floor, he found stacks of thousands upon thousands of these black rocks that were beautifully engraved with the profiles of people, not Indians, people from other parts of the world. Some of them were white, some of them were Asian, but hundreds are of black people, all in profile. They are made on a type of rock that is found really mostly only in southern Illinois in caves. This rock is like a clay. You pull it out of the ground and you have like a stylus or a pen, and you can draw on it real fast. You can draw profiles and letters, and then as it dries, it turns into a hard rock.
It is a profound fact that when you go back to the Moors had a trade going on with brothers and sisters in Mexico, and what the trade was for, we were getting corn because there was low food supply in Africa, you know what I'm saying? But we were very rich in resources, gold, silver, etc., etc. We were very rich in resources, but very low on food supply. So what we did, we created this trade. It wasn't a trade. We weren't seeking for quests. We weren't seeking to colonize. We weren't seeking to do mass destruction. This is a trade where it's profound between these two tribes and these two people, and it's built off of love and trust. You know what I'm saying? Trust. So we built up these trades, and we offered them gold, silver, you know what I'm saying, and they offered us in food.
These black kings of West Africa began sailing across the Atlantic to Mexico as early as 900 AD. Now, why did they do that? They did that for trade, not for conquest or invasion. They did this for trade. Mali was very wealthy in gold. They had lots of minerals. Some of the black kingdoms, they were called the Yoruba or the Benin. They were great workers in bronze. But the trouble with West Africa, and it's still a trouble today, not enough food, famine. Somehow, the black kings of Mali had preserved this tradition of long before, where there was this kingdom across the sea, a totally different one. It was very hard to reach. You needed to have excellent ships and good sailors, and nobody in Europe was doing it at this time. But if you cross that sea, this other kingdom across the Atlantic was very rich in a certain kind of food, which the people over there called maize. We now call corn. And these West African kings launched at least 2 major fleets, trading ventures, that went across the Atlantic 900 AD to about 1600 AD. And they brought over their bronze work, and they taught the Mexican people, the ancient Mexican people, who were then known as the Mayas. The Mayas had built up a great kingdom of their own, but in 900 AD they were in decline. They were really on the outs. Nobody knows exactly why, but their society was in decline. They were losing all of their technology. Then these black fleets came across from West Africa, from Mali, and they presented a lot of gold work, bronze work, and in return, they came back with shiploads of corn, maize.
It's just very profound because it just goes to show that if we had the knowledge to be able to come from Ethiopia and create Kemet, create Spain, people are going to say, how did they go from Africa to, there's natural wave currents that you can be able to travel. But not only just that, we were already indigenously in the Americas to come from the jump. If you look inside, if you look into it, there's pyramids and all types of things in the Americas, right? And then you come to find out that Southern Illinois, where they found Russell Barrows artifacts in the caves, that Southern Illinois University is the whole entire Southern Illinois is called Little Egypt. All of Southern Illinois is called Little Egypt. And then you go to find out that the Southern Illinois University's mascot is an Egyptian dog. And their mascot is also a pharaoh or some source. It gets deep, but it links back to Africa and our people. And it's messed up how so how are we able to do all these different type of things, create pyramids, travel amongst forth, be able to have the knowledge to be able to go and create, trade, all these different type of things, but you don't think we had no knowledge of self, and they try to teach us and act like, oh, we were just out here running around savage, killing, hunting, like that's not our way of life. That wasn't even in our consciousness, you see. But through picking up on others' way of life, picking up on others' eating styles and ways of thinking and all this stuff, can we cause to have another person, another tribe of people, a species, or another person to be able to pick up on our destruction and offer them our destruction, and now we're both in destruction, right? So and that gets deep. But the reason why I want my brothers and sisters to realize the history and knowledge of who we were, because if you know who you are, then you know where you can head, and you know who you are within this moment. You know who you can be, because you have to realize, just from perceiving life and the way of life that we originally did naturally, that in the original way we did naturally, do we get to connect with the divine within ourselves, and we see everything as heaven, just be able to, from perceiving that way. But now we wake up, we get passed on this person's trauma, this person inflicts their way of thinking, this person inflicts their way of thinking, we get domesticated from prize and reward, all these different type of things, right? You have to realize there's no such thing as hatred, anger, envy, jealousy in the heavens. None of that stuff exists. You know what I'm saying? We have to realize within ourselves, it shouldn't exist within ourselves, that it didn't within ourselves when we were born. We had to pick that up from somebody else, and from somebody else's trauma, and from somebody else's way of thinking. So if it's not natural to us, and we picked up on everybody's anger, hatred, and way of thinking, we also have to realize everything else that we have picked up that's not natural to us. From the meat, our teeth are not even made for meat. And people are going to bring up, well, how are you going to eat protein and stuff? Google it right now. There's fruits and vegetables that offer you more protein than what some meats do. Right? What it comes down to is, you're not really looking to fulfill the need of what you need for your body, and energy wise. What you are doing, you are addicted to food, and you are addicted to taste, to be able to cover up and fulfill a missing piece within yourself. So we get this trauma, we get this, and all we want to go do is eat. You know, we get a heartbreak, we just want to go do eat. We get this happen, we just get this, and we want to distract ourselves, right? But then if you come to find out, when you eat a burger, when you eat a hot dog, and they're trying to make up these names to be able to mess with your perception of what it truly is. It's not a hot dog, it's not a burger, it's a mashed up cow flesh. It's not a burger, it's mashed up cow flesh. So what we picked up on all this, right? So we picked up on a false way of thinking. We picked up on a false history of who we truly are. We're eating bullshit and chaos. But we also have to look into how all this affects our consciousness, right? How all this affects our consciousness. In the Bible, I don't have it here with me. It's over there. I'm not going to get up right now. But in the Bible, it says, if the eye is the lamp of the body, they're talking about your consciousness, your third eye, that thought within thyself. This, if the eye is the lamp of the body, and the eye is to be good, the whole body will to be good. But if the eye is filled up with a darkness and disease and is bad, then the whole body will be bad, and so is thy experience. So with that being said, if your consciousness, your way of thinking is filled up with filth, hatred, despair, anger, disease, and you're built and you're in survival mode, money, this, and you can't relax and just love this moment, man. The only thing that exists is this moment. The past, the future, none of that stuff exists. We create it within ourselves, but outside of ourselves, it don't exist within nature. You see. So we picked up on a false way of thinking. We're born, and we picked up on trauma, hatred, jealousy, despair, all these different type of things. False way of love, all these different type of thing, attachments. And then we're given a false history of who we are, and a history of who we are, and we're also having history being kept away from us, right? And then we're picking up on eating habits, and not only just our eating habits, but we're picking up on drugs, alcohol, again, just addiction in general, to be able to cope with and mend the missing pieces that we have within ourselves. So we look for everything outside of ourselves to be able to fix within ourselves. And then we have been given false religion systems, and we're going to get deep into that in another video, you know what I'm saying? And don't believe anything that I say, right? Because at the end of the day, the knowledge is out there. The history is out there. Don't just look at this video and disagree with me and then just go about. No, if you look it up first. Don't disagree with me yet, and don't agree with me either. Just listen. But look it all up for yourself, and you'll be very shocked. You know what I mean? When you come to find out that this life is an illusion, that our whole entire way of life, our way of thinking, everything that we have picked up in is illusion to who we truly are and who we were born to be, right? I want to also talk to my brothers and sisters, because it's like I don't think we realize how powerful we are and how powerful we can be for each other, right? We're very much so powerful, yo. From the music, everybody wants to listen to our music. A lot of people, when they want to talk like us, they want to dance like us, do this, do this, do this, do this, do that. You know what I'm saying? So for my brothers and sisters, what I try to get my brothers and sisters to realize is like, yo, we're influencing ones, but we're not influencing ones in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? We're sending them off this way. We need to go this way. Imagine if we use all of our energy and our power to promote knowledge and love of thyself and love of creation, and to connect with the divine that flows within all beings, and to love thyself. Imagine if we literally promoted to love thy sister and to love thy brother and to help thy sister and to help thy brother, instead of promoting self-abuse and abuse to others. And see, everybody is missing that peace within themselves. So we're seeking this fame, we're seeking this notoriety, we're seeking this society status to prove to ourselves that we are somebody. But in truth of it all, we are already born with what we need. And what is that? We're born with the divine, because the divine is love. The divine is life. Life is the divine, you know. You have to cherish life, man. Cherish breath, man. We take this very much so for advantage, and we take it very so much so for granted, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. You know, you have beings that don't have the nicest car, don't have the nicest clothes, don't have the the material gains, the social status, and you have this being, and you put hatred and harsh, and you look at this being as if he's ugly and he's this and he's that, and she's nothing, and because she doesn't have this and that. But if you go and talk to her, even though she has nothing, you can have everything. But in the cold, dark winter, she will still take her clothes off her back and give it to you, to give you warmth, because she loves herself and she loves the world. So who are we to put judgments upon others? You think that you have the power to be able to put your perception onto somebody else, when you even have the power to be able to take advantage and take control of your own life. You can't take money with you when you take your last breath. You can't take that money with you. You can't take that car and that Ferrari and them Jordans, man. You can't take none of that with you, man. Nah, man, you got to leave all that behind, man. Only love can enter to those gates. Only love and pureness and wholeness and love for every being, because every being is nothing but a reflection of love and God. You are existence, man. You are existence, man. And for you to hate yourself and beat yourself up, you are worthy to be created by creation, and you hate yourself, who are you? But because you want to pick up on everybody's way of thinking and false identity. Man, we've mastered these roles, man. We've mastered these roles, man. We've mastered these roles within ourselves, and we mastered them so much that we carry this role our whole entire life, and we end up losing our true identity. You don't think that I was that being that wanted to have the nicest clothes, that I did this for my physical appearance. Bro, I don't care. All that stuff I drop and I shed all of that, because it's not who I am. It's not fulfilling that person that is within thyself. And it's not fulfilling you either. And it's not. It's not. I can have 30 million Instagram followers, and the whole entire world can cherish me and boast me and glorify me and help me up. But within myself, I still feel like nothing, because I don't know who I am and my existence. And I have no knowledge of thyself. You think creation will just be able to just make? No, creation is knowledge. That's how creation was made. Everything you see in creation is straight knowledge. It's beautiful. When you see the sacred geometry and things and everything that you see is a pattern of thy creation and the creator. Everything you see is the divine. And for us to seek destruction no, man. We want to come up with these laws within our way of thinking, all these different type of things, but they're not real laws. You know what I'm saying? We put laws within ourselves where if we do this, now I got to feel hatred and guilty and this within myself, and I got to hate myself and this and this and this and that. But you're causing that for yourself. That's not how it truly got to be, man. You see, we picked up on all these different type of things, so it's like we became our own domesticator. We don't need nobody to domesticate us no more. Don't nobody have to domesticate us no more. You don't have to put your way up there. I'll beat myself up enough. I'll domesticate myself. I'll do something and I'll suffer for that mistake every single fucking goddamn. But I'll suffer that mistake every single day. Every single day I'll think back to that mistake and I'm gonna suffer it. In truth, we are supposed to suffer it one time, get the lesson, and move on. But now we're going to suffer it every single day and keep our lives and keep our bodies and our minds in bondage and trauma. In your body, do you want the cells within your body to work for thy body and with thy body, or against thy body, and cause disease and destruction within thy body? Or do you want it to cause healing and love within thyself? We're nothing but cells within another being, and inside that being is a being. But that can get into science, and that can get into metaphysics, and that can get into spiritual. All that can get into everything. Can cover the course of creation. A lot of things can cover the course of creation. But if you really want to find it and walk in it, not just have knowledge of it, be able to walk it and be it, you can only go within thyself, because nothing outside of thyself is going to come and save us. Only within. When we talk about revelations, you're talking about within thyself. Yes, God is coming back within all beings, because we are all a reflection of the divine and the divine's mind and the divine's word. So, knowing who you are, knowing where you're going, when you're eating pure, when you think pure, when you feel pure, when every single thing that you do is a benefit and is positive towards creation, of course you're going to live a beautiful and wonderful life. But when you are picking up on hatred, despair, jealousy, anger, envy, abuse to thyself, this to the consciousness, because this is who you are, not this body. I can scar this body all up, but within myself I feel free. But if I scar this thing within myself, it don't matter where I am. I could be at the beach. My physical body could be at the beach. I can do when in here, man. I'm in hell, man. Boy, it don't matter where I'm at physically wise. Within here, I'm always in heaven. We're not the body. We're this, man. This is what controls everything, man. Everything, man. Everything, man. We have to align. In the words of Kiana, man, we have to align and love ourselves, man. It's not hard to love and to stop taking advantage and to stop manipulating and to stop hating thyself. And the biggest thing, we feel hate. Like I feel bad for the things I've done to others, but the most importantly, I feel bad for what I've allowed myself to do to myself. Like, man, like I didn't deserve any of that, man. I need to love myself. Like, who am I? I can't believe I put all that hatred and all that anger and all that trauma into myself, and I allowed it to happen to myself. I gotta love myself, because it's my experience. It's my thing that's able to, it's myself that's able to give anything else value. I value, we want to value the cars, the TVs, this, and this, not realizing it's the very essence of who you are that's able to value in the first place. And we want to value this more than us. Bro, in the words of Peter Tosh, we value material items more than our brothers. You know what I'm saying? We value material items more than our sisters, man. You know, it gets deep. I could do videos like this all the time. You know, I can do videos when ones are questioning me and, you know, they want to talk to me. And, you know, because it's not like I'm going to just BS. Like, I'm very open. I want to listen to your questions, because it's like at the end of the day, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that computer, because, you know, the knowledge is out now. I'm going to go to that computer and I'm going to dig deep, find all the information and knowledge and all the wisdom and all the truth that we need. Not emotions. I'm not speaking from emotions. See, that's the thing. I'm not speaking from emotions. I'm not speaking from a sense of belief, or I'm not speaking from a sense of that or sense of no. I'm speaking from truth. Because in truth of it all, we all want to be historically and educationally correct. I just want to be correct. Let's just be correct here. Let's just be correct about who we truly are and what life is. Let's be correct. Let's not pick up on a false way of thinking now to keep us in bondage, right? And that's the most beautiful thing you can say is, I don't know. That's the most beautiful thing you can say is, I don't know. Because once you made an assumption and you've already came to an agreement, no, this is what it is, and that means anything else that it can truly be, you have erased it from history, and you erased it from yourself, and you won't allow it to be anything else. So I can have a Nike shoe and I'm telling myself, no, this is Adidas, and I'm not allowing it to be anything else other than Adidas, but in truth, it's in a Nike shoe. But through my belief, and I can't say I don't know, to be able to really examine it and look at it and, you know, be able to really find the history of what it is, I'm going to just keep calling it an Adidas. But in truth, it's a Nike shoe. You don't know the truth because you're stuck in a belief system. I don't deal with belief, man. I don't deal with a belief system, and I don't deal with emotions, and I don't deal with me, and ego and what the ego wants. And no, I'm going to deal with the truth, and I'm going to deal with that. The truth can hurt you, but you can't hurt the truth, because the truth is the truth. You can never hurt that, man. I'm gonna leave it at that, man. So with what I'm gonna say at the end is just to love yourself and to treat everybody with love, man. Don't put your poison and your sickness onto everybody else because you can't deal with that within yourself, man. Don't do that. You're weak for that, man. You're a punk for that, man. I used to be one of them. Keep that to yourself, man, until you can really fully be able to cope with that, because the frequency of love is 10 times stronger than the frequency of fear. 10 times stronger, man. So love everything and love everybody, and it's delicious just to love, because love is just the most beautiful thing in existence, because existence was built off of love. The creation, the moment was built off of love, because expression can only be creation is an expression. It's a sense of expression. So in order to create life, you have to do it through a form of expression, because expression is creation. So to create life, you have to express love, and to create life. If you express destruction and hatred, it's only creating destruction. When you express anger and hatred and all that, you're creating destruction. But when you express love, you're creating nothing but positivity. So with that being said, focus on what you're creating in your and focus on what you're creating in your mind and what you're creating for people and the vibe and the situation around you. Love, man.